guys, thank you so much from me, Flick, for purchasing the Make Your Own Mask kit. I really hope you find this easy to follow and really enjoy making your very own mask. So here we go. Oh, and I also almost forgot to mention, so do not fret if you get a little bit stuck throughout this process. If you do, just drop me a message either on here or through the Etsy order or via direct messaging on Instagram and Facebook via my page flicks_masks and crafts, and I'll be very happy to try and help you through and guide you on the next steps. So just drop me a message. So now here we go. Okay, so in your package you'll have filter pocket pattern pieces pre-cut, and they are face sides next to each other, and the main outer pieces again with the face sides next to each other, and they're pre-interfaced for you as well. So you just want to get them matched up with the right sides together, and then pop a couple of pins down the curved edges. Will be the first side that we're going to sew. So a couple is enough for me, but put more in if you need for stabilising it in place for sewing. Okay, now over to the sewing machine. I've got mine on 1.5, and then you want to measure up your curved edge to 1 centimetre seam allowance from the edge. Use some snips just to cut your ends off, and then do the same on the outer pieces. Okay, now over to your ironing board. You want your iron set at a low to medium setting. And then your filter pocket pieces, just give them a once over. And then with the piece with the curve facing towards you, open up the pieces. And then you want to just iron into the seam and fold over to one side. Oops. And then flip it over and do the same, oops, the other way. You need to fold back the edges. This is going to be the edge of the inside of your filter pocket. So you'll find there's little tiny notches in the edges. So on both sides. So what you want to do is match these notches. So I'm folding once over so the notches match both ends, and then fold again so the next notches match, and then just give it an iron, get it nice and flat, and then do the same on the other side. Then over to your outer piece. Again, just give it a quick once over. What you want to do is splay the seams. So you want an open seam on this seam. So fold it back with your fingers just to mould it into place a little. And then put it flat onto the ironing board. And again, just iron into the seam to get that seam nice and flat. Do the same from the other side. And then ideally, if you've got a sleeve or really small ironing board, you can use one of these just to finish off the whole seam, because it's a little bit tricky to get right into the curve. gets it nice and flat and open down the whole edge. So now you've got a nice open seam. And then fold it back so the right side is now on the outside. Make sure your pieces match nicely. Just give it a very, very quick, just to flatten out the pieces. Lovely, now back to the sewing machine. So the edges you've just folded over on the filter pocket, you now want to line this up with 1.5 centimetre measurement on your sewing machine for your seam allowance, sorry. And then just stitch a nice straight line along the edge there. Snip your ends. You've got a nice folded edge. Do the same on the other side. Now we just need to pin the two pieces together. So first start by making sure your seam is open on the top nose edge, and then you want to match the pointed nose edge as well with the filter pocket piece, and you want to match where your seam stitch is on both sides first, so you've got a nice matched seam in the middle. And then just pin it in place, and then you want to just mould the piece so it kind of sits nice and snug, and then pull outwards so you'll see that these edges then match up nicely, and then pin in place again. And then do the same on the other edge. Make sure it's nice and the seam is matched up. I find it's easiest to kind of push this so it's flat, or as flat as possible. So again, so you're now back to a centimetre seam allowance. You want to, I always find it's best to do a forward and back stitch a couple of times on where the edge of the filter pocket meets the main piece, so that when you're putting filters in and out, this is going to be under some pressure, so you want to double stitch that. Get to your center seam and then re-angle the footer, keeping your seam, your 1 centimetre seam allowance on the edge. Okay, see how that's finished right to the edge there. Off your ends again, and then we're just going to sew the other side. So same principle with a double front and back stitch. And make sure that your outer piece seam allowance is open on the underside. Stop at the centre front seam, do another little swivel. So that's now stitched together. Then grab your scissors, and we just need to do some work on the nose area. So you want to do a diagonal snip where the stitching on the centre front and the edge stitching meets. And then on the outer side pieces, just cut diagonally to the centre front seam. Just gets rid of a lot of the excess fabric on the nose, on the bridge of your nose. Okay, and then it's always good to put a few little snips. I tend to do about 5 on each side, so I'll do 1 inside the filter pocket edge and then 4 more just into this main part of the curve so that it stretches nicely. Be careful not to snip your stitch. Okay, we're going to use a nice easy pipe cleaner for the bridge of your nose. So it's got a nice soft outer then as well to give a little bit of extra padding. So it will come in your pack folded like this. So you just need to open it. You need to match the bend to the centre front seam. So I hold the centre point of the pipe cleaner to the centre point of the centre front seam. And then I'll just set that underneath. So the centre point of my fitter is then matched up to the central point of the pipe cleaner, which is in the middle of the seam allowance. Now you want to set your sewing machine to a medium to large zigzag stick. And I just go back over it a couple of times just to hold the end in place. Want to keep the pipe cleaner right in the middle of the seam allowance all the way along. Now you want to turn your mask the right way out, and then if you push through from the inside the nose bridge point, see the seams are nice and matched there, and just kind of mould it into shape so you can feel the lining filter pocket piece properly fill the outer piece. Okay, and I kind of stretch, kind of pull from the middle and just push out. I find that really helps. Then you want to use your iron again. Start by ironing the nose piece and then work out to the edges. So I make sure that the edges are nice and matched up and that your seam allowance continues to the end here. And you want to iron that nice and flat. Do the same on the other side. And then again start from the middle on the neck edge. Same the other side. Again, making sure that your edges are nice and rolled out and matching. And fold in half. Make sure that your edges are both matching up. And then again, referring to the notches, you'll see 2 notches on either side. You want to fold these so that they make a nice straight line across and match up at each end. And then again, I like to make sure that the final edge just sits slightly underneath the filter pocket, just to make sure that everything's covered up nicely. And then iron in place. again. These should now match nicely when it's all flat. There we go. Lovely. Now you will have 2 pieces of elastic included in your pack. Take one of these and you want to put that into this fold that you've just created, and then fold the whole piece back over. You can hold this in place with a pin or 2. Do that on both sides. Okay, now you want to set your machine back to straight stitch and measure up your footer to about just under a 2 centimetre seam allowance. So then filter pocket just sits nicely over your edge there now. Snip all the ends so it's nice and neat, and then same on the other side. Now your mask is almost complete. Now all you need to do is just match up the ends of your elastic and tie on the other side, match the elastic ends and do a little knot. Now get your filter pad. One should be included in your pack, and then it just pops in the side like that. Pull it through from the other side. You want to make sure that your ear elastics are going to fit you as comfortably as possible, so pop it on your face, mould the nose wire to your nose, and then make sure that the ear elastics feel comfortable. Otherwise make the knots tighter or looser, whatever you need. And then you can chop off the ends that you don't need anymore. Make sure the knot's nice and tight to the measurement you want it. I'll just chop a bit more off of that. And then pop the knot up in the seam allowance there, and then pull from the other side. Now the knot's nice and hidden. So another big thank you from me for purchasing your very own Make Your Own Mask kit, and I would be so grateful if you could leave a lovely little review on Etsy where you purchased from, or just a little review on your Instagram or Facebook. Just remember to tag me in at Flicks Masks and Craft so that I can send you a very special little 10% off voucher for any future purchase that you might like to place with me. So thank you again, hope you've enjoyed yourself, and hope we get to meet again.